Well, hi everyone, it's Isabella here and welcome back to the channel. So here's the deal. You guys can tell, I'm not even kidding when I say I just got out of the shower, okay? Like I literally just got out of the shower. I was getting ready for work. I was like, I'm gonna, put makeup on. I'm gonna get, no. We don't have time for that shit today. We have some important things to talk about. So we are covering the final talk and response by Brittany Dawn. So here's the deal. I was already planning on making a video about Brittany Dawn, the lawsuit, and so much more. So if you guys do or don't know, I would highly recommend you check out some other videos that I have in the description below about Brittany Dawn, her lawsuits, and so much more. But quick recap, Brittany Dawn was someone who had zero, it appears to be zero, certifications, training, you name it, in order to give like personalized fitness and meal plans. And she had a lot of unhappy customers. State of Texas decided to file a lawsuit against her, and they finally ended up with a settlement. And so again, that's a big deal, right? We've covered this story for a good long time now. It's been around for years, but it's finally closing down. However, I don't think we are done with some of the problematic BS from Brittany Dawn herself. So we're going to get into it because she posted up today on YouTube her response and discussion about all of this. So I wanted to kind of talk about it, give my recap on it, and my personal perspectives on everything that's gone down. Okay, so before we hop into today's video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button down below. And without further ado, let's get into it. So this entire video kicks off with her and her husband sitting there, which I mean, I don't have to like her, but I understand having support through having a conversation like this makes sense. She kicks it off with an apology to say that she is so sorry and that she feels horrible about everything. If anyone was hurt by her, she wants to like make that very clear. And honestly, with it kicking off like that, I was just going to assume that this is going to be a very clear, oh shit, maybe she's fully being apologetic, not having excuses, and just trying to close the chapter in a good way and saying, yeah, I fucked up heavily. I was apparently giving her too much of the benefit of the doubt. So we get into a storyline and timeline that she's essentially mapping out with her husband about how everything grew and became what it was today with a lawsuit. She goes into talking about 2012. So she kicks off by saying how in college and her story, she kind of struggled, I believe, with like body image and just wanting to look a certain way, which is that's a very sad reality. And that's not something I'm going to dog on. A lot of people go through that, have issues with their body image and so much more. So she was trying to do more to make herself look a specific way. And this was kind of when social media was growing a little bit more, specifically Instagram. So she started posting on Instagram and sharing her photos, and some of them popped off and went viral, which I remember some of her photos, popping off. That makes sense. She started sharing more and people were asking, which happens a lot with creators, is people ask like, what do you use? What are you wearing? All of that. That's a really common occurrence that people want to know what you're doing and how you look the way that you do. She was doing a lot of working out, and she discussed how she was with other trainers and was involved in the health and wellness world with trying to impact herself in a good way. And with that was when she actually thought, okay, maybe I can share this with other people.
Introduce yourself.
Started a business when I was young, and it blew up and became something that I never could have seen coming. And because of that, and because of my arrogance and just being dumb, for lack of better words, and not letting my pride get the best of me and being prideful and not asking for help, things happened and things slipped through the cracks. But nothing was ever done maliciously, and everything is done with as of April 25th. I was at home in my apartment. So I got this idea to start a website, not knowing what would come of it. In that, I made a website, and I never could have seen what was coming. My business took off. I feel frazzled again.
Okay.
This is where I have a big issue with where we start rolling into excuses, okay? Charge a shit ton of money for things that you shouldn't have charged for because you didn't have credentials to charge for that. That's the problem number one. However, there's a very frequent occurrence, and I'll of course be sharing clips throughout this video, of her talking about she was naive, she was like dumb, she didn't know everything, everything just grew so fast and she just wasn't prepared for this. And she was 23 and she was so young.
It's that saying, where sometimes your reality grows faster than your perception of yourself. And that was genuinely what happened to me. I was young. I was a pre-vet student, like animal science degree. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know anything about owning a business. Like I never had an intention to run a business or own a business. I never could have seen that coming. And it just happened so fast. I remember it felt like a blur. And I was 23. Yeah. I was 23 in 2013. So I was a baby, just trying to manage and learn. And sorry, I'm fidgeting, you guys. Oh my gosh, I'm a mess. my business grew so fast. I was young, I was dumb, I was naive, I had no idea how to manage this business that was now being placed in my hands. And because of that, I didn't ask for help. I didn't know that I could ask for help. I was prideful in a sense of, well, if it needs to be done, I'll just do it myself. I just wanted it done the right way. And I didn't realize at such a young age that you can entrust those tasks to other people. I didn't realize that I could ask for help. I didn't realize that I could hire on a team. I didn't realize that those things were part of growth in a business. And I do now. It's a very hard lesson to learn.
Hi, 23-year-old right here, okay? Me. I am 23 years old. Like, I've been making content since I was like 16. I've been covering the scam commentary stuff since I was like 19, okay? So I have been young in this world doing this shit as well. Not the health and wellness stuff, but I have been running, working with people, and working on the internet, okay? I've been doing that kind of stuff. The biggest thing I have a problem with, that is not an excuse. I am very, very much well aware that if I am incapable of doing something and hiring out, I'm not gonna fucking do it. And this is something that irks me so much, is her conversation about, well, I didn't know I could, and I was trying to just do it all myself. I don't think that matters though when we're impacting other people. It's one thing, okay, here's a beautiful example of this. It is one thing for me to want to edit all by myself, right? Because all the videos you guys see, it's a one-woman show with this editing, all right? I do it all by myself because yeah, I like it a certain way. I'm really picky with that. However, if I want to hire an editor, I can. You know why I haven't though? Because I am not getting an editor until I can drop dumb money on them. And I mean that because I want them to be very well financially taken care of. I want them to additionally know that they're getting compensated for their hours of work because I will have the expectation of thorough edits. They're going to be compensated thoroughly. I think that's common sense at this point. There are literally business ideas that I am dying to do. Things that are connected to my vision board and so much more. As a 23-year-old, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the damn shack, right? I am still young. Yes, I don't know it all. What I do know is people deserve quality no matter what. I don't give a fuck if there's a dollar sign attached to that. People deserve empathy for other people. If you don't have qualifications, maybe don't do that. You know, if you are incapable of fully providing and making sure that the worst case scenario doesn't happen, or if it does, you can fix it, don't do it. If you are incapable of making sure that everyone is 100% taken care of and you are able to stay on your shit no matter what, that is a problem. I can't wrap my head around this excuse about, I was young, I was naive, I was 23 years old. There are people on the internet that are that age that know better. So I don't comprehend that in any capacity, okay? I just don't understand how you start a business and start something, and when things start picking up, you don't immediately shut that shit down. Because her conversation was, it blew up really quickly. Things started going really fast. I was trying to take care of everything and I was just working so much. That should have been your sign to shut the shit down and say, hey, look, this is what's happening. Clearly, I'm not capable of this. We're refunding everyone. We're making sure everyone's good. You know what else is a problem though? Is there was a lot of evidence that the Texas side was claiming was that these plans weren't customized. And that's another problem. I don't know and this is just me, but I don't wrap my head around how you were working day and night if the plans weren't even customized to begin with. You see what I'm saying? The math is not mathing here, okay? I can't wrap my head around it. And either way, to me, this should have been a I f***ed up video. I'm sorry, no excuses. Here is the lawsuit. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm promising to do in the future. That's what you should be doing. But instead, I personally think from this video, there was a lot of little random jabs. There was a lot of excuses. And I'm sorry, but my big age at 23, people like me should be held accountable because she kept using this like language of like, well, I was a baby. I'm not a f***ing baby. I'm an adult. Am I smart all the time? No. Am I gonna f*** up? Yes. Am I gonna hold myself accountable though and make it very clear that I care and want to make adjustments? Yes. And that's exactly what every person on this internet needs to be doing, okay? Every person that's a creator and wants to take up a business or job, if you f*** up, you need to hold yourself accountable. You need to do your due diligence. So I'm sorry, but this whole excuses of infantilizing yourself and be like, well, I was a baby, I was naive. You were an adult still. You took on something. You didn't see the red flags and say, oh shit, I need to shut this down because this is a problem. Peace and love, I don't feel bad for you. I really don't, okay? That to me is self-inflicted stupidity. I can't wrap my noggin around how this is, like, none of this makes any sense. Now, in 2019 is where they are claiming that apparently everything blew up and fell apart. So I actually remember this this very vividly. There was I believe it was a convention. It looks like a fitness convention where Brittany Dawn was at. Anyways, there was a guy that went out there that claimed, and they're not mentioning his name or anything because they don't want him to get more attention. But apparently this guy filmed him approaching Brittany and saying like, you scam my daughter and everything.
So in 2019, there was a prank video that was put on YouTube by someone with a platform, a pretty large platform. And that person portrayed themselves as a father of a client of Brittany's. They flew out to LA, where she was the face of a booth for the LA Fit Expo. And that person approached her and caught her off guard and accused her of scamming his daughter.
So the expo, when this prank happened, first of all, I was completely caught off guard. My dad has always taught me that if you don't know what to say in the heat of a moment, it's better to not say anything than to say something you'll regret. And now looking back, that's biblical. I wasn't living for Christ then, and that's my testimony, and that's going to be the last video in the series. But it is biblical to hold your tongue if you don't know what to say in the moment. And so that's what I did. And of course that came off as she's being silent because she's guilty, and the internet just completely manipulated that entire situation. He was very abrasive. I mean, he humiliated me. We will leave his name unmentioned because, truth be told, he doesn't deserve any more notoriety than he's already gotten by just having my name in the title of his video. Yeah. So I got back home from California, and pretty soon after, like the next week, that video went live.
I think that the main thing that the video did that was unfair in this situation is the video perpetuated a false narrative that that Brittany was a scammer and that she was a fraud and defrauded people intentionally.
That video blew up, which led to more press, and apparently that was what led to the Texas problems in general. So this is where I think it gets a little dicey. They claim it was like a prank, and they claim that is the reason for so much of this stuff. And this is where the lack of accountability language kicks in, because they're claiming that this was super manipulated and all of this was manipulated to blow up to what it became. And I don't agree with that at all, okay? Because if that happened in 2019, right? And if you start having an inch of bad reviews, what do you need to be doing? Hop on that shit. Wow, maybe I should hire out, get someone to assist me to make sure I get everything taken care of, maybe refund people. Because she even alluded to discussing how this grew to be like it made over $1 million, I believe. In the first year, I think it had like a 6-figure business. So like it was pumping in money. I'm sorry, but you should have been doing better with that. That is your own damn fault. If someone walks up to you and says, oh, you scammed me, and they have problems with you as a company, and you're not like thinking, oh, man, maybe something did go wrong. I don't know what to tell you. There was a lot of discussion about how the media and so much manipulated it. And there was another discussion saying how there was a petition actually made, petition against Brittany Dawn and her alleged scamming.
If I could go back and fix it, I absolutely would, because it was never my intention to hurt anyone. I wanted to help women. And I did help women. I had over 5,000 clients, over 50, was it 5,500? Something like that. Over 5,500 clients that I helped, and I loved helping them. I actually had one the other day reach out to me, and she was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, I do remember you. I do. It was never my intention, because where there were hundreds that didn't get what they paid for, there were thousands that did, and they loved the program. And again, it was never my intention to hurt anyone, and I'm so sorry. Well, I don't know if he did. Someone started a petition called Stop Brittany Dawn Fitness Scams. And to give you guys context as to the cancel culture mentality, the bandwagon mentality behind this, 15,950 people signed that petition. That was like as of last week. I checked.
It's still going?
Apparently. I know, it's ridiculous. I had a little over 5,000 clients. So that is 2/3 of people who never worked with me, who probably didn't even know who I was before this. And that is why, ultimately, the state of Texas opened up a lawsuit.
I think people can see a situation and not have to be directly involved and say, ooh, this person's a problem. You know, that's the kind of same thing with me talking about like cults or MLMs. I haven't been in a cult before. I've been in an MLM before, but I see the problems, see the numbers, see the data, see other people being hurt. And I'm like, yeah, that's an issue. And I talk about it. So no, I don't know how that was even brought up or why it was, because like someone can sign a petition and say, hey, you're being a bad person. And that doesn't mean that they have to directly work with you. They can see the evidence that's displayed and think, problem, and run off. So they go on with the lawsuit and kind of cover a couple other things with it about how much they're paying, where these funds are going to, how much they settled for, why they settled, and everything. So they make very clear that there was no malicious intent in any way, and how there was no malicious intent found. Apparently, Brittany was like wanting to scam or hurt people, which here's my problem, okay? There are literal companies that I covered, and this is where I need my legal girlies and people and professionals to comment down below, okay? There are companies, for example, DoorDash, who settle because they don't want to go to court. I know settlements are not an admission of guilt, but my thing is if you have so much evidence that you did not do a damn thing wrong, that you have so much proof that there was no way in hell that they could get your ass, why wouldn't you go to court? So my thing is, and this is just my belief when it comes to, like, for example, DoorDash, the video that I made about them allegedly scamming people, if you had enough evidence to show point blank period that nothing you did was wrong, why settle? Why not fight back? Why not make it very clear this is everything? Because if anything, you have nothing to worry about then. If you have ample amounts of evidence, they can't just randomly get your ass for nothing. Why is it that they can go out and say that, oh, well, there was no malicious intent? I mean, you can say that. Of course you can say that. But I'm kind of curious as, like, why did you settle then? My opinion, I think she settled because she knew she was in deep shit, okay? This settlement allows her to get out of this, be done, pay a certain amount, and be able to share, quote unquote, her side of things, I guess. And again, like, I'm not saying Texas is magical in any way, okay? They've got their problems too. Why would the state of Texas waste their time on something that had zero foundation? That's what I want to know. Why would the state of Texas and all their attorneys sit there off going through thousands of documents and they had literally nothing that they could do? They don't want to waste their time. They want to get paid. So I just don't, I'm sorry, but the math is not mathing to me. Then she also says that some people were jumping on the bandwagon of hate and editing receipts. So she was trying to refund people, and she even went out of her way to refund people, and she realized that they didn't have, like, they weren't a client of hers, which, okay, I'm sorry. Self-inflicted stupidity once again. If you have systems, if you use PayPal, for example, you can look up the person's name and receipt number and information. And if you have to go and refund them, you can find their exact detail and transaction, refund it through. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't believe this. Like, I cannot believe how you accidentally refund people that weren't even your customers to begin with. What were you doing? If I need to give the benefit of the doubt somewhere, I will. I am not a horrible person. I am not trying to be unreasonable. If there is an explanation for this, please give it, okay? It is very hard for me to sit there and say, you mean to tell me that you refunded people and the system, don't know how you couldn't check it, because any website would have connections during this time. She said she was locked out after, but during this time, you'd be able to go back and look and take care of it. Why didn't you? It's so fucking stupid. Why wouldn't you go out of your way after to hire people to start handling the shit show that happened? I would be handling it before there was even an idea of a lawsuit, okay? The lawsuit was initiated like not too long ago, but why wasn't she hopping on handling that and saying, you know what, on the off chance, just in cases, let's refund everyone. And this is why people consider Brittany a scammer, okay? Because in my opinion, there was not enough urgency to handle this. It is not hard to be an ethical person. And when you run with business and with ideas with empathy, even if you do actually up, you are going to have so much more grace and kindness from people because you are so adamant about fixing it. I don't think people, don't get me wrong, there are nutso crazy people on the internet, but when you're doing everything in your power and you're clear about it and you show it, there are going to be people that are going to hold you accountable. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Yeah, but they're going to be like, you know what, handling it very well. That's how you take accountability. I've seen many creators screw themselves, honestly, for not taking accountability, taking people's money and scamming them. And I've also seen creators who have seen a problem, took in full responsibility and fixed it so quickly. And you know what? They still did good. They weren't labeled a scammer because they handled it well, like a good business owner. It is not hard to be a good person. And I have zero sympathy for this woman. Now, this is another thing that is so funny to me is they lean into the conversation of cancel culture and how apparently that is a huge aspect of this. And they've also, by the way, have discussed how they are going to be making like several other videos. So I think this is like 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6. So they're going to cover things. And they specifically have mentioned that they are going to cover things like social media, like YouTube, how people are hopping on this for attention and clout, like to get this out of the way and say, Miss Brittany, I do not need you to be successful on my channel. Let's get that out of the way. They think cancel culture is a big problem with this. I think cancel culture can be very beneficial in many ways because there are too many people rampant on this internet. It's a free-for-all and do whatever they want. She is very much, in my opinion, confusing this whole idea of her being like it's a witch hunt for her versus she needs to be held accountable, because there was so many excuses for what I saw for years on this shit. I don't think there was enough jump to fix it. So I'm sorry, but to me, this apology that she made at the beginning means nothing. It means nothing, because if you're going to go into this and be like, I was labeled all these things and this is not true and I blah, 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 blah. No, this is complete excuses, in my opinion, with trying to blame cancel culture because you were being held accountable.
I don't say it lightly when I say that the last 4.5 years of my life have been a living hell, and it's time for it to be brought to the light. There have just been some awful things that have been done to us that have all stemmed from hate threads, from people that just don't like us for whatever reason, and that does not deserve a place in this video. But what I can say is that I'm sorry. I've learned from my mistakes, but from this moment forward, I'm moving on. This is in my past. I have every right to move on. It's been almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in January next year. I didn't scam anyone. I didn't fraud anyone. I'm not a scammer. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a grifter. And I'm done tolerating being called that by people online, by news headlines, by articles, by other YouTubers, by other people on TikTok who are really just ultimately chasing this story for clout, because at this point it's become a clickbait title. This video becomes 2 videos. This is the beginning of some pretty intense conversations that I am ready to have, as hard as they are. So, okay, well, we'll see you guys in the next vlog. Bye.
They discussed all the numbers and did say that their full goal and intention is to pay back, which it's like what else are you gonna do? Like, no shit, you're kind of legally required to pay back. So like, wow. Like, what am I supposed to do about that? We have a full intention of paying all of this money. Because you kind of legally have to, girl boss. Chocolate chip, oatmeal, and raisin. Do you want a fucking cookie for that? Like, holy shit. Wrapping it all up, though, Brittany says that she has learned so much from this. It's finally done and she wants to move past, which I honestly, yeah. As long as there is payment back to people who were a victim of this, that's good. I believe it was around 100K that was going to be like given back to people who needing to be reimbursed for their programs. I'm glad that there was some sort of accountability for these problems, but she is saying that she's going to talk about these issues more, which again is a little bit confusing to me, because if you want this to die down and go bye-bye, take the settlement like a champ and keep running. But they're talking about how they're wanting to do more series on cancel culture, discussing YouTube video, like just big problems like that. And something I would like to be very clear on is she has gone a long way, and for a good while, talking about threatening people, defamation, and so much more. You can talk about a personal belief that you have about a person. That's fine. Like, you can talk about a personal belief about someone. The Reddit pages can talk about personal beliefs and what they think is happening. People have a right to an opinion. With this new information, with the settlement, I can think she's a scammer all I want. I have to go out of my way and say, in my opinion, she's a scammer. That's the reality of it. But I can't have an opinion that she's a scammer. She can have the opinion she's not. She can have an opinion that she's fine. I can have the opinion that she's a goofy fuck. What are we going to do about that? All I got to say is she can't sue the entire internet. I do know that she has me blocked, so I know she's aware of my content from what I've seen. People have been reporting on this for a while. The settlement has hit. What is done is done. I personally don't feel a need to cover any more of her like lawsuit settlement stuff at all, unless there's a new one, right? Because there's nothing else to ask the conversation. I think that there's a lack of accountability. I don't care if she did her, I'm sorry, I feel bad at the beginning. In my opinion, there was a lot of excuses and, you know, babying her down for her age, but I'm not going to feel bad for her then if she didn't have the common sense to handle the stuff better and not take a bunch of people's money when she knew she can provide, if that's what happened. Apparently there are more videos coming about this. I really don't know if I'll cover them or not, because again, if they're really not something that's really necessary and important conversation to have, then I'm going to put my time in current scams, cults, problems, things like that. Yeah. If so, we may cover it. Stay tuned, because I don't really know what it all is. If I mention, I might discuss it, but either way, I'm not really concerned about that. I hope that she does better. I don't have to like her, but I can hope that she does better. I would just love for her to be better. Nobody wants scammers. No one wants to not like people like that. No one wants to have a problem with people. But when it keeps happening, you have no choice but to not turn the other cheek and not look the other way and hold someone accountable for that. And that's the only way that we can expect change. That's the only way that we can have other people protected. That's the only way that people can get better and be more aware and not do this in the future. And maybe less scams will be better. No one wants to dislike a person for it. But if they have problems that exist, then you can't expect people to turn away. That was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my little recap and discussion on it. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. Again, comment down below if you have benefit of the doubts, if you have other perspectives. Let me know. I'd like to hear about that. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna go blow dry my hair, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.